Hello, my name is Sophie and welcome back to my channel. Now, I appreciate as you're watching this, hopefully, if I've edited it on time, it is nearly the middle of June. But as I'm filming this, it is June the 1st. And I've seen a few of these reset videos online and I've always liked the look of them. I like the idea of having a more intentional reset at the beginning of the month. I have a lot of monthly tasks that I do. I'm very much a planner. I have a bullet journal that I've designed myself. I have a lot of notes and strategies and things that I keep up to date, and I thought I would just show you some of them, what my kind of average monthly reset looks like when it's less intentional and how I'm making it more intentional. I'm not making it more intentional, I just thought I'd put it all in one video, and doing it all in one place has made it more intentional. Either way, so I've made a list of some of the things that I will do at the start of a month to kind of set me up for the next month, and I thought I would talk you through them. The first thing I did, actually, I'm going to take you in order of the things I did them rather than the most logical order. The most logical order is not the order that I've done things, because that is not how life goes. So the first thing I did was actually setting up my content plan for June for the next month, and I'm going to put in a little screen recording to show you what I do. This is a little insight into my Evernote. I know a lot of people use Notion and I feel like I have a tiny bit of PTSD from Notion because one of my old workplaces used it and I just don't want to do anything to do with that old workplace. But similarly, I don't know how Notion works. I find it all very overwhelming. I have my system set up here, and whilst it may not be the most efficient, it's what works for my brain, so I'm sticking with it. So unless someone wants to show me how Notion works, I'm going to stick with my Evernote for now. I know this is something you can also do with Notion, but the other thing I like about Evernote is that I can also download it as an app on my phone. I also use it to plan my content. I feel like I have a very simple system. It's a bit like a calendar, but it's in more of a list format, and it's what works for my brain. I've had it in lots of different ways over the years. I've been making YouTube videos for over a decade now, so I've had lots of different ways of planning my videos, but this is what works for me at the moment. It's not just YouTube, so I'm scrolling back up to the top here, and what we have, it's literally just called content plan. Why do I have these spaces at the top? That's annoying. Okay, so on the left we have the days of the week and, well, the days of the month and what day of the week they are, just because I find it useful to know what day of the week it corresponds with, because I have some content that I try to upload weekly, so those are useful markers for me. And then I have a bunch of columns across the top for different platforms and how often I intend to post on those platforms. So TikTok, I aim to post every day. Clearly that didn't go very well in the first week of April. And then Instagram, I aim to post every day. YouTube, I aim to post Wednesdays and Saturdays, but again, that clearly wasn't going very well at the beginning of, this isn't April, it's May. No, yes, this is the beginning of May. I got confused because we have April wrap-ups. Either way, and then my blog, I post once a week, and that, I don't normally post on a Tuesday, I normally try to post on a Saturday, but either way, that's the start of all that. And then I mark it off as green when I've done the thing, and if I haven't done the thing, I will rearrange it or whatever. So this is a little look, and clearly I did nothing on these days. That's a little look at my May calendar, and then all I do to set up a new month is I copy and paste, and then I rewrite the days and the dates with the corresponding days and start planning content. So this is content that I have filmed today as of filming, but have posted nearly 2 weeks ago as of when I hopefully get this video up. It's a little bit blank right now. My intention when I set this up is not to fill it in for the whole month, just because I feel like it's easier to plan kind of on a weekly basis, because then if there's any trends you want to hop on, it's easy to still be relevant, or if there's anything you think of in the moment that you just want to add, this is really useful. Something I have added recently is at the bottom I have an ideas section, so I know that I need to film a Q2 stats video at the beginning of July, and I had a moment brainwave where I thought about it, so I wanted to write it down so I wouldn't forget. And then I've got another idea for some July content over here. And then any kind of regular content, so my reading vlogs I try and post once a week, so I've got those in. And then I do these 2 weekly videos on TikTok, so I can put all of those kinds of things in and then put in markers for where I need to still come up with blog ideas and such. So that is how I plan my content. That's a really easy setup because it is literally just copy paste, change the dates and then rearrange content as and when planning. But yeah, here is the June reset video. Look, I'm making it. So yeah, that was the first thing I did in terms of my reset for this month. So something else that I use incredibly religiously is my bullet journal. I set this up at the beginning of the year. I made these stickers for the front. I'm really proud of them. I used my Cricut to make them, and I use my bullet journal every single day. I use it as much as a tracker as I do a planner. I'm someone who likes to have things written down in 3 different places. It just helps it cement it into my brain a bit more. I know some people find that confusing and not efficient, and people prefer to have digital calendars for that reason, but I just like having everything written down, and if I have it written down in 3 places, it's definitely not going to get missed. So this is just one of my ways of making sure it doesn't get missed. The other thing with my bullet journal is that setting up these spreads every month, it takes me a good few hours, maybe 2 to 3 hours to set up these pages at the beginning of every month, but then I maybe spend 20 minutes once a week then filling in my weekly spreads. So it's not actually a big time commitment when you break it down, but those 2 to 3 hours that I spend doing this is kind of like my relaxing time. It's something I find really therapeutic. It's something I find is a really nice creative outlet. I get to use all my nice stickers and my washi tapes, and I enjoy making my bullet journal look pretty. It's not the most aesthetic bullet journal. There are much more artistic people on the internet, on TikTok, that have much prettier bullet journals than me, but I find mine, for me, is the perfect balance between looking pretty and being functional. We have a purple theme for this month because it would have been my nan's birthday and her favourite colour was purple, and I really like purple, so I'll take up any opportunity to use it. So here we have the space for my June goals that I've not planned yet, and then my my kind of monthly challenges that I've set myself, where I want to try a new recipe, go on a date with my husband and do a craft project. We've got a spacey theme, but also it's Pride month, so I put a pride flag there. Then a calendar. Then we have Lucas's work, my monthly task list, which I quite often ignore, my habit trackers, my spending, which I haven't filled in yet because I was filming a time lapse when I did this yesterday, and I thought actually it's probably best if I don't put this on the internet, so I'm going to do this later, and I'm not going to film it, which is probably a smart idea. Then we have my highlight of the day and my gratitude spreads, and then we've got a nice selection of stickers down the bottom here, and then we have my reading trackers with my TBR, finished books, and then I can track my pages and my minutes, and then we get onto the weekly spreads, and they look the same the whole way through the month, but then I don't actually fill them in until the relevant week. I've changed the layout of these slightly this month because what I did last month, I had them looking like this, and then I had enough room for 4 tasks a day during the week and 5 at the weekends, but with how things are shaping up, I just need a little bit more space. So this gives me space for 5 tasks during the week, and then I think 6 on a Sunday. But that's my bullet journal spreads for this month. That's what I love about having a bullet journal, is that you're not locked into using a certain diary format for the whole year. You can change it as and when. I know some people with bullet journals will design the whole year in one go, whether that's at the beginning of the year or whenever they feel the need to. I find monthly works really well for me because it means I can make those adjustments as and when I need to. I'm not locking myself into something too far ahead either. And then I do leave my weekly spreads blank, and I try to fill them in the week before they happen. The same thing of I'm not locking myself into something too early that when it needs changing. I have a system and it works, and it's worked really well for me. I've been bullet journaling since 2017 and I'm still figuring it out. I'm still changing things. If you look at my first bullet journal and compare it to now, it's incredibly different, but this works really well for me. And yeah, making these spreads is a big part. It's arguably the biggest part of my monthly reset. But this is not the only journal I have, because something I did this year that I haven't done in previous years is I have my own bookish bullet journal now as well. So this is essentially the same principle, but it's just for books. Again, at the beginning, there's lots of spreads that I fill in throughout the year and I come back to, but I also have monthly spreads. These aren't as detailed as the bullet journal ones because there's less data to capture, But something that I've started doing as of last month is having a calendar where I can kind of colour code it to see how long it took me to read certain books, when I was finishing books, how many books I've read. And I really like how this looked in May, so I'm going to be doing it again in June, and this is something that I've literally only added in the last couple of months. Then I've got my TBR for the next month. Choosing my TBR is another part of my monthly reset tasks. I have what I call a functional TBR, in that, not that I think other people's TBRs aren't functional, but mine has a function, therefore I call it a functional TBR, and it's just to meet certain categories. So I have my book club pick for the month, the Famous 5 book that I'm reading each month. I've got a box set of 10 Famous 5 books, and rather than reading 10 Famous 5 books back to back, I'm reading one a month. Then I've got my subscription boxes, so my Illumicrate and Afterlight subscriptions. If I've pre-ordered any new releases, I will put that on my monthly TBR. And then I also try to read 2 of my 24 in 2024 list books. So far, not particularly successful with that, but my June TBR is the shortest TBR I've made so far this year, and hopefully that means it will be the first TBR that I actually accomplish this year. I'm starting on June 1st with no current reads, so I get to start on my first TBR book on the 1st of June, which I think is going to be a real help. That's my book journal, and then just flicking back to my May pages, I then add my reviews for each book as I do them. So I have a monthly colour theme, which matches the same colour theme as I use in my bullet journal, just because I find it easier to have the same colour for both journals. And then I leave a little gap for to print out a picture of the cover, and then I track all of the data about the book. I'm not having much luck with my camera battery today, so if the angle looks slightly different, I apologise profusely. I think I was somewhere in the realms of saying I've got a space to print out a picture of the cover. I've got these stickers for star ratings that I then colour in the corresponding amount of stars, and then I track, or I have the data for the book, which is the title, the author, the series, the genre, the audience, the format, the status, which is like whether it's a new release or whether it came from a subscription box or whether it was part of my backlog, etc. The book length, and then the dates that I read it. And then I have all this space down here for a review, which is the thing that's most important to me in my book journaling. I love writing these little reviews. This is inevitably why I chose to make my own kind of bullet journal style journal for this year, because I couldn't find a layout that really reflected what I wanted from a book journal. So I just made my own. And again, it's a huge creative outlet for me. So setting up my June title pages and then being ready to write in reviews as and when I finish books is another part of the things I do to reset for the month. Monthly goals. I'm a huge goal setter. I love setting goals, I love planning goals, I love being able to mark my progress and things like that. So I have various subcategories of monthly goals because I really am out Virgoing myself. So I think the easiest one to start with would be the recurring monthly goals. So I have 4 things on my list of annual goals for this year that I want to try and do every month. One of those is having a date night with my husband, because he works away from home a lot. He only really lives in this house about 50% of the time. So it's actually really important for us to actually make time to spend together. Making sure we have time to have a date night or a date day or do something together, just us, is really important. So it's finding time in both of our calendars to be able to actually do something together. So that's the first thing. Then, I don't know how best to describe this, I kind of realised that I have loads of recipe books in my kitchen and I wasn't actually using any of them, and I found that whenever I was making our meal plans, I just ended up using the kind of same 10 to 15 recipes on rotation throughout the year. So once a month, just once a month, I thought once a week might be too intimidating, I find a new recipe in one of our recipe books that we have, and I try making something new. In the first month of the year, it was a birthday cake for Lucas's birthday. Last month, it was a sausage tray bake, some sort of sausage casserole thing. So at the beginning of the month, I like to pick the recipe I'm going to make, and then it makes it easier for me to integrate it into the meal plan. If it's something that my husband isn't going to be interested in trying, I can plan it for a night when he's not home. If it's something like baked goods, I can make it in line with seeing friends or seeing family or being with someone who I can share the produce with, things like that. So knowing what new recipe I'm going to try at the beginning of the month is helpful for my little brain box. In a similar vein, I am also a kind of crafty girl. I'm one of these girls that loves crafts, has loads of craft materials, but doesn't actually do a lot of crafting. I'm very aware that, like, behind me, this whole unit behind me is full of craft materials and I don't use a lot of them. It's not something that I will just sit down of a day and be like, I'm going to do some knitting today. So I have to be more intentional with how I'm spending that time. So each month I like to pick either a craft project or to set an afternoon to do some craft things, and that's my challenge for the month, I suppose. This is one that I've already not been successful with on every month for this year. On one month I decided that my craft project was going to be that I was going to finish off all of these little, I had these tiny little cross stitch kits from Hobbycraft that they're not even, I think the material is like 3 inches square, but the design is maybe only an inch. It's a really small cross stitch project, but they were all Christmas themed and I had loads of them and I wanted to finish my Christmas cross stitch collection. So one of my challenges, one of my craft projects 1 month earlier this year was to finish all of my Christmas cross stitches. I did all but one. It was so annoying. But then some months I don't have time or I don't want to commit to a big project like that. Not that it was a big project, but you know, a project nonetheless. Another month I spent 3-4 hours doing a paint by numbers. You can't tell that I spent 3 or 4 hours on this paint by numbers, but it was more about the intentional way of spending my time. So that's something else that I like to plan out at the beginning of the month. At the moment I'm trying to finish projects rather than starting new projects, so I think what I'm going to do this month is spend a few more hours on this paint by numbers and maybe even try and get it finished, but who knows. I find a good way of making sure that I actually do this is putting a date in my calendar and having a solo crafternoon, or even having a group crafternoon. If you've got crafty friends, they probably feel the same way, so you could definitely do this one with friends if you wanted to. This isn't me giving advice, this is just me telling you what I do. Either way, that's my third goal. And then the fourth one is that one of my goals for this year is that I want to make a photo book at the end of this year with all of the photos from 2024 that I want to keep and capture and remember. But rather than trying to sift through a year's worth of photos in the limbo between Christmas and New Year, I want to, at the end of each month, I go through the previous month's worth of photos, save them all into a digital album, and then at the end of the year I'm either going to order physical photos and put them into a photo album, or put them all into a photo book and order that photo book. But one of my jobs for the end of the month is to go through my photos. Actually, let's do that together. Time-lapse time. Time-lapse. That job is now done. Yeah, so that's my little way of being able to make a photo album at the end of the year that doesn't feel intimidating, because I don't have to go through 12 months worth of photos. But the other thing that I will do is I will narrow down those photos, because there was like 59 photos, and I will print out some of them, and I have little collages. Where's April's one? Little collage with some of the highlights of the month. I don't very often go back and look at my old bullet journals, but why not? Why not? It's a nice thing to do. Those are some of the monthly tasks that I set up, but I also have monthly goals. So I have another list on Evernote with my 2024 goals. I have them broken down into 3 categories, which are personal, professional and home, and then I have 10 aims. I used to call them bucket list goals, but that feels a bit morbid. They're just 10 things that I would like to do throughout the year, sorry. So then I try to pick 3 goals that kind of help me progress in some of my other goals, and then I also write those down in my bullet journal. Just something else that I do to try and keep myself on track, just to kind of keep myself checked in with what I'm doing, and also figuring out whether those goals are still relevant to me. Some of them definitely aren't, and I try and change those as I go along, but I don't see a point in sticking to a goal just because I set it for myself at one point and I don't feel that is still relevant to me now. Most of my reset tasks are admin based, but c'est la vie, that's my monthly reset. I hope this has been useful in some way or another. If not useful, then entertaining. If you have any questions about any of my journals or the way I set goals or anything else, please do leave them down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you're reading a great book, and I'll see you at some point in the future for another bookish video. Bye!